Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I'm your host, Deya Naef, and I have a great episode coming for you. I have Alyssa Burns of Alyssa Burns Communications, and she does so much more than communications, just crisis management and just communication strategy. And so whenever there's an upheaval, she swoops in and brings clarity, calm, and of course speed. There's the swooping in part. So Alyssa, just please tell us a little bit more about yourself, and we're interested to know all about it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dea, for the invitation to appear on your podcast. It's been really nice to get to know you a little bit through the Galway group. I actually love what I do because it's different every single day. And being a crisis management expert, it is something that I've learned throughout my career, and I honed my skills when I worked for a Fortune 100 company. I was on the corporate side working on the client side, and I was responsible for, I oversaw communications for 50 manufacturing facilities. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I learned very quickly how to handle a crisis when it happened. Whether it was a labor strike, a boiler explosion, a layoff, or an employee that had fallen ill with tuberculosis, I dealt with it any time of day or night.
Wow, I see that, like really being able to think on your feet and pick some things up. Who's your clientele now?
My clientels are mostly folks in the professional services business. So ideal, great referral sources for me are lawyers because they're almost always dealing with an issue.
Oh,
I
good.
also work with financial advisors, bankers, and even accountants. So pretty much anyone in professional services and also in manufacturing.
Okay, keeping on. Yeah, most of our,
Yes.
our listeners are small businesses and small law firms. So keep your ears open, folks. This is going to be great. So what makes you like different? I mean, I don't know many people who actually do this, but what sets you apart?
Okay. Well, I don't treat crisis management like a script. Okay. Instead
Okay.
of generic advice or buzzwords, I focus on understanding the real situation, the people involved, and the pressure decisions are being made under.
Mm.
So, what sets me apart at doing this is my approach is calm, practical, and human. Okay. I help clients respond with clarity rather than react out of fear or urgency. A lot of times, when people are in a crisis situation or an organization is,
Mhm.
they're panicked. They don't know what to do. So, most importantly, what I do is I reduce uncertainty, protect people, and keep the organization functioning with clarity that is useful and specific.
That's amazing. That's true. It's people panic and then they do nothing or they do the wrong thing. So can you share us like a success story, an example? Of course, you can leave out names.
Absolutely. So, I'm the kind of person that's contacted generally at 8 o'clock on a Thursday evening was my last crisis situation. I get a text from one of my contacts in the Chicago market and she said, I'm working with a new client that I really think could use your help. Can you get on a call in 10 minutes? And I said, absolutely.
Hmm.
So I texted her back, we talked, and what it was one of a client. It was a house of worship, actually, that had a pretty awful situation on their hands. And it was about ready to break. And so she said, I do not know anything about crisis. I know you do, so can you help me? And I said, absolutely. So what I did is I immediately got the download from her. She looped me in on the team, and the next day she said, can you lead a call with all these members of the board? There's going to be 20 people on the call. I don't know what to say. I said, absolutely. This is what I can do. So I am able to cut through complexity when things feel overwhelming. So what I did is I said, I really need to know what's going on. Like I insist on transparency,
Hmm.
and I have to make sure that they're just telling me the real story because it
Hmm.
doesn't help if they're hiding something. And I certainly cannot help with any type of messaging or counsel if they're hiding something, because not only is it their reputation, but it's mine too.
Hmm.
So I insist on transparency, and a lot of times it's very painful. I can pretty much read the signals when somebody's holding something back. And I just let them know that I'm here to help them and that I'm here to provide clear direction and steady, direct guidance and clear communication when it matters most. So, my
Yeah.
role is to provide counsel so a client makes sound decisions and handles the situation with confidence. I'm very much a behind the scenes person.
Oh, okay. Behind the scenes. Yeah. And I love how you said I can tell when people are lying. In my family, we love detective shows and crime shows. And
Right,
I just saw one last night where the teenage daughter, she's like, the mom was like, I'm a detective. You can't lie to me.
right,
I do this all the day. It's
right.
like,
I actually
ah.
sat in on a white collar crime case once in federal court. And I was in the city of Chicago where I used to live. I spent a lot of my career there, but what it was someone who had looped me in, again, heard that I knew how to do crises. And she said, I think you might be able to handle a client that's going to have something that's coming up. And so what it was is I spoke to the CEO of the company. It was a privately held firm. So it was someone who was a former partner at this firm that had been let go, but there was a white collar crime case against it. So
Mm.
I sat in court, in federal court, every day for a couple of weeks listening to the case because the CEO said, I am not going there. I got rid of this person. I am not going to sit through it. You can be my eyes and ears.
Mhm.
So I reported back to the CEO every single night of what was going on. And what had ended up happening is there were FBI witnesses, undercover agents, and all this kind of thing. So it is pretty much like a detective show. So it was the person was found guilty of embezzlement. So he ended up going to jail. It was not the CEO, but somebody that actually formally worked for this company. And I just said the messaging we need to stick to is we got rid of them 2 years ago. So
Right.
that's it. Right. So, but still a lot of, a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. Fear is also what I try to. I engender trust in my clients because I want to get rid of that fear. I'm like, you can trust me. As long as you tell me the truth, I am going to protect what the story is. I need to know what the story is, and I will give you the best strategy on how to move forward.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. What are some of those strategies?
So I offer a lot of things. I do internal communications.
Okay.
So I like because oftentimes, if it's a situation that's in an organization, you have to know how to communicate with everybody that's there.
Hmm.
So I always say that a lot of crises are simmering underneath the surface, and
Hmm.
management just didn't pay attention to the warning signs.
Hmm.
Very rarely is it something that comes out of nowhere. It's
Hmm.
something that, if you pay attention to what the comments are on websites and that kind of thing, and it's amazing how much employees really know, truly, in an
Hmm.
organization. So you just have to be honest and say what's going on and what you're going to be doing next. So I work with internal communications. I work with other partners that may be affiliated with the organization or the individual. I also deal with external communications. So let's say media calls and says what's going on.
Hmm.
I develop statements, and whoever says it, usually it comes right from the top. I make sure it's approved by a legal person because anything that I write has to be approved by legal just to be safe. And then also, I also can come up with individual answers to any kind of questions that come up. Because a lot of times you put a statement up right away on social media, you put something up on a website. They have a live Q&A. This is one thing that I counseled my last crisis situation on is like you have to have an area where people can ask questions.
Hmm.
And I customize responses to every single question. So that I thought went really well. And again, everything I do goes through legal.
Yeah.
So
A lot
yes,
of that's too your presence and your demeanor when they're asking you the questions,
exactly.
are you evasive? Are you forthcoming? I'm sure
Right, exactly.
working
And
with
I,
people that
yeah,
way.
be forthcoming. The American public is generally very forgiving, and all of us have made mistakes. And the best thing to do is just own it and move on. So yeah, I give clear, practical advice, and guidance is specific to each situation.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. I know you said lawyers are good referral partners for you. The legal industry is a little topsy-turvy right now, also in and of itself. So I don't know if you've worked with any firms that have gone under or merged or imploded or anything like that, where they had to reestablish their reputation.
Right, right. It is,
Yeah.
it's interesting because so many things are changing in today's world. It's constant. The only
Mhm.
thing constant is change, as they always say. So if you can adapt to it, and if there's a merger or acquisition or something like that, I help with that kind of communication too, because communications is key.
Mhm.
Everything in business and life comes down to how well someone communicates. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And M&A is also really hot right now. A lot of people are retiring and transporting their owner-led businesses into other businesses. And it's a lot. And then the employees, of course, yes, what's going to happen to us? And then
exactly,
keeping up
exactly.
the good quality while you're in those merger talks is
Yeah,
paramount.
and communication is ultimately about trust. So, and when I do with crises, it's people will not judge just what happened, but how a
Mhm.
company or individual shows up, took
Mhm.
responsibility and communicated under pressure. So,
Mhm. Yeah. How does your like pricing work? What does that look like?
well, I people often ask me that, like, would I offer a consultation to someone who's has a crisis perhaps simmering or wants to know how I do it? Let's say someone wants to speak to me for an hour. Do I do that for a certain fee? And yes, I do. So
Mhm.
I offer a 1 hour crisis. I offer crisis consultations.
Okay.
They're private conversations for individuals or organizations who want guidance during a difficult situation or who
Hmm.
want to be better prepared before one arises. So I work with them on talking through what's happening, what matters most right now, and how to respond in a way that's thoughtful and measured. And as I said, guidance is specific to each particular situation. There's no one size fits all approach. The conversation is shaped around the client's needs, contexts, and concerns. So they're
Hmm.
fee based and confidential, excuse me. The rate is shared in advance and discussions are kept strictly private. And my goal is to have them leave with a clear path forward. My goal is to bring clarity, reduce uncertainty, and help the client make informed decisions about next steps. So I do a consultation and then they can decide if they want to move forward. And oftentimes they do.
Hmm. Yeah, it
I'd
makes
say nine
sense.
times out of 10, they do.
Yeah, they're like, okay, I got it. Yes,
Yes.
it's that.
Yes, I'm here to help. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And just having somebody to lay it out there and say, what are my options and how do we, how can we proceed? Or is this
Exactly.
really like, do you ever get any that are like, is this really a big deal?
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes people think like, well, maybe this will just blow over, and it really doesn't. So honestly, there's with the advent of 24/7 media and everything is recorded on the phone, spreads quickly like wildfire. You really have to respond. There's a short window,
Hmm.
really a short window. And there's example after example of companies that did not respond or took a couple days and then they're just dragged through the mud, honestly.
Hmm.
So I have actually a consultation with an attorney in a couple of days. He's like, I'm going to be in my car. And I'm like, I'm going to be in my car too, but let's talk. So it was just someone, again, on a Friday night, somebody I know in my network said, hey, would it be okay if referred you to this person? I said, absolutely. So the attorney that's working on is going to call me. So
That's great. That's great. And that's how that referral networking works. I mean, you and I are both very active out there in networking and meeting people and getting people to know us and like us and send us some offers to see if we're a good fit for
exactly.
what people need.
And as I said, it's crisis is all about trust.
Yeah.
It's they have to trust that I am going to give them the best counsel. And I have a lot of experience doing it. And I also have a good eye and ear for these kind of things. And I like to call myself unflappable. So, right, I'm the one that I can put it in perspective. I know what the media cycle is. I know about the emphasis of being transparent, telling the truth, and just giving advice clear and concise and calm direction.
Yeah. So how do people find you to learn more?
So you can reach out to me at alyssa@alyssaburnscommunications.com, or you can look me up, Alyssa Burns Communications. Just look me up and you can reach me. My number is there as well as my email. And I always welcome just a phone call or a quick email. I will always respond, and it's always worth a conversation. So alyssa@alyssaburnscommunications.com would be the best way to
Great.
reach out to me.
All right. And thank you. And the folks that are listening, all that will be in the show notes. Thank you, Alyssa, for coming on.
And
This
thank
is,
you, Deya.
you're
Really
welcome.
great to talk to you. Thank you for asking such good questions.
Oh, it's great. I do enjoy it. So, everybody at home, this has been another episode of the Success Partner Podcast with I'm your host, Deya Naef. Please like, subscribe, and thank you.